Welcome back, grade 5. Just wanted to go over a couple of things with you in math your first thing this morning so that you're very comfortable and familiar with doing the strategy that we're doing. Since this division strategy is not the common one, I wanted to do a quick video just to show you as a reminder, also one that Mrs. Price can see so that she can see the same strategy that we're doing and can help you and assist you in that. Hopefully many of you are able to finish it this weekend. If not, there's still some more practice that you can do here. I also wanted to make this video so that we actually have a record of it, and we'll put it onto Google Classroom so you can watch it again to remind yourself how we do it. Your parents can see it as well so they can see and also support you in this new strategy of dividing. So let me take you there. Let's go to Mathletics. Under the Learn section, if you scroll down, the division strategies right here. You can click on that one. There's a few on here that I want you to for sure do with this method. There is the mental methods division right here. There's also, looks like, oh yeah, remainders by tables as well that you can work on. These two here are the ones that you for sure can do as well. Let's go right into the mental methods division right here. I'm already on question 4, which is past the first 3. The first 3 questions are basically like division multiplication facts that you can work that out. But once you get to question 4 and on, I for sure want you to be using your graph paper. Please be working those questions out on paper to show your work. And I'll show my work right here on the smartboard. Let's go over the strategy together now. So we're looking at the question 480 divided by 12 and how that might work. Well, we first place our 480 into our little strange little box that we've created, and we're dividing it by 12. So again, what we're thinking is how many 12s can fit into that number? How many groups of 12 we can make that fits into that? So we're thinking of numbers, and we don't have to be bang on to that 48 because even though you may not know that times table fact, you can do things that you know easily. So for example, you can start off with just simply multiplying by 10 or something like that, or even 20 if you can do that quite easily. But I'm going to write 10 right here on the side because I know I can multiply by 10 quite easily. Because 12 times 10, or times 10 rule, is simply a 1 times that number by adding a 0. So 1 times 12 is really 12, but you add that 0, it becomes 120. So I write my group of, I want 10 groups of 12 on the outside, that's how much I'm dividing. I'm going to write my multiple of 12 of the 120 on the inside, and I'm going to keep subtracting from the total. And as I subtract from the total, I'll be using up the full 480, and then I'll have the amount of 12s that fit into 480 very soon. This is an easy number to subtract as well when you do things like this. So we can work that out. As you can see, we have 360 left. Is there enough to do another group, 10 groups of 12? There sure is, so I can do it again. I can do 10 groups of 12 another time, which is another 120. I can subtract that now from my 360 as I see the numbers getting smaller and smaller. And sure enough, I'm left with 240. Is there enough? Yep, there is. Let's do it again. Let's just keep going. Since we're on a roll here, we'll keep doing our 10 times 12, 120. We can subtract another 120, which gives us, 120 left. That's perfect because we've been multiplying that this whole time. So we can go ahead and do another group of 10. We extend our line if you need to. 10 times 12 again is 120. I subtract that amount, and I'm left with no leftovers. And so then I have to simply look at how many groups of 12 did we use up to solve the full amount of 480. And we did 10 here, another 10 there, another 10 there, another 10 there, which makes a total of 40. So we simply add this column. We have 40, which then becomes our answer. 12 times 40 is actually 480. Some of you might have even noticed that, 48. And you could have done that multiple of 10 pretty quickly. And so you didn't even need to do this strategy. So we'll just enter in our 40 there and see if we're right. And look at that, sure enough we are. Let's just do one more just to review, here, 240 divided by 16. We can do that. We put our 240 on the inside. We have our 16 here. And again, we want to do things that are easy for you to multiply. What are we going to start with? Well, I probably would be thinking the same thing as you. Let's start with multiplying by 10. Because our 10 times rule states that 1 times 16 is 16, but we add that extra 0, it becomes 160. That's a good chunk on our journey to 240. We can subtract that amount. So sure enough, we have nothing in the ones column. I don't have enough of the tens to take 6 away from 4. So I do need to borrow, leaving me with 14 in the tens column. And I can remember that 6 to all the way to 10 is 4 away, and 10 all the way to 14 is another 4 away. I think they're 8 apart. Sure enough, the difference between 14 and 6 is 8. And I have nothing left in the hundreds column. So we have 80 left to do. Wow, so I'm thinking how many 16s can fit into 80? Well, you may not know very much of the 16s. I know I can double it. 16s in my head pretty easily. You might be able to do the same thing. Let's just start with that. Maybe we could fit 2 16s in there. How does that work? 2 16s is 32. And we can subtract again to see how much is left. I can't take 2 away from 0, so I do have to borrow from the 8, leaving me with 7 in the tens column. Regroup that, which is a 10 now above. 2 away from 10 is 8, and 7, take away 3, should be 4. Look at that, 48. Now I may not know off the top of my head what 16 times what might be 48. I do know that there's enough to fit another 32, so I'm going to guess right now another 2, just because it's easy for me to multiply. 2 16s I've been able to do, and if you're just unsure about that, we can just show you 16 times 2, 2 times 16, well, that's 12, 2 times 10, that's 20. We add up those columns, and sure enough, we have 32. So 2 16s is 32. We can subtract that amount. 8 minus 2 leaves us with 6. 4 minus 3 leaves us with 1. Whoa, look at that. There's 16 left over. Is there enough to make at least one more group of 16? There sure is. So I'll write one more group. One more group of 16. 1 times 16 is 16. I subtract the amount. I'm left with nothing left over. And all I have left is to tally up my total amount of 16s that I figured out. 10 plus 2 plus 2. Looks like we got 14 already. Plus one more, we have 15. And sure enough, 15 times 16 should be 240. We'll see if that works out with our question. And look at that. It works. But let's try this again with questions that might leave us with a remainder. Alright, so we're going to take a look at how we can divide a number that may not give us into even numbers. We might have to have a remainder. So let's take a look at something like that. Let's take 544, for example, as our number. And we're going to divide it by 9. Let's just see what happens and how we can work it through and see where we end up. Again, we've got to think of numbers that are easy to multiply, and we want to see if we can get close to that number 500 and 544, something like that. But if right now you're at a loss of what that might be, usually multiplying by 10 is a good start. So let's go ahead, multiply by 10. And how much is 10 times 9? 9 tens really is 90. which is pretty close to 100, so it is smaller than the 500. But we can still subtract to see what we're left with. 4 minus 0 is 4. We can't take our 9 from 4. 4 is not big enough. We got to borrow, leaving us with 14. So therefore, the difference between 14 and 9 is 5, and we have 454 left. Now I could keep guessing by 10 and subtract 90, guess by 10, subtract 90, all day long. But we want to guess bigger. In some ways I think of, well, can we at least double that almost? Can we do more than just the 10? Maybe we should double it and say 20. Well, what is 20 times 9? We can do that. 9 times 20 is simply a 9 times a 2. So 2 times 9, 2 9s, that's 18. Add that extra 0, we have 180. Well, that's getting closer to this one at least. So we'll subtract now 180 because 20 times 9 was 180. We'll subtract out of there, leaving us with 4 again in this column. We can't take 8 away from 5, so we have to borrow once more, leaving us with 15. And 15 minus 8, that's 7. And 3 minus 1, that's 2. Wow, 274. Is that enough to do another 29s again like we just did? Because 29s was 180. Well, that's smaller than 274, but it's pretty close. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. So let's do 20 again. 20 times 9, we already did that times table. We don't even have to think about it anymore. We write out our answer, 180, and subtract that amount again. So it leaves us with 4 in this column. 8 minus 7, we can't take 8 away from 7, so we have to borrow one more time. 17 minus 8, that leaves us with 9. And we have nothing left in the hundreds column. So now we have a 94. Well, there was a number that was close to 94, wasn't it? And we could do another 10 9s to fit it in there. So let's see. Let's do another 10 9s. 9 times 10 is 90. Sure enough, we can subtract 94 minus 90. They're 4 apart. Leaves us with 4. And at this point, we don't have enough left to make one more group of 9. We cannot even do one group of 9 because that's too big. One group of 9 would be 9. So 4 is not big enough. So we have a leftover. We have 4 pieces left over. And so what do? Well, we can figure out, first of all, how many groups of 9 we did make. So we will add up this column, 10 plus 20 plus 20 plus 10. You guys could add that pretty easily, I'm sure. And you'll know that we have a total of 60. Well, that is how much we could divide 9 into, so that's our answer there, but we still have to record our leftover amount. We have 4 leftovers, so we simply put that we have an R, which stands for a remaining amount, a remainder of 4. And that's our final answer, just like that. So there it is, the division strategy with remainders.